Oh, why hello. I didn't see you there. I am King William III of England, Ireland, Scotland, Netherlands, the Stadtholder of Holland, Zeeland, Utrecht, Gelders, Overzeal, in the Dutch Republic, and the Captain General of the Dutch forces. And I am running for the President of the United States as a representative of the brand new Monarch Party. I, William III, was born on November 14th, 1650 in the Netherlands, born to William II of Orange and Mary Stuart. At the young age of 22, I became Captain General of the Dutch forces to combat the French invasion led by Louis XIV. During the invasion, I allied with Spanish and Austrian forces to drive the French off of our soil.
I, Mary II, was born on April 30th, 1662, to James II and Anne Hyde. Growing up, I always had a strained relationship with my father. He was Catholic and I was Anglican, and our points of view were always clashing. In 1677, I was married to William III to repair relationships with the Dutch. In 1678, only a year after our marriage, we forced Louis XIV into submission and out of Dutch territory.
During our glorious reign, we did many glorious things.
Like overthrowing my father?
If you mean the Glorious Revolution, then yes. In 1688, we were graciously invited to England to
invade?
No, that's too harsh. It was more along the lines of, we were invited to England to remove your father from the throne, forcefully, and take it for ourselves. Okay, so maybe we invaded England.
But for a good reason.
We have thought it fit to go over to England and carry over with us a force sufficient by the blessing of God to defend us from the violence of those evil counselors. And we, being desirous that our intention might be rightly understood, have for this and prepared this declaration, in which, as we have hither given to a true account of the reasons including to us, so we now think it fit to declare that this expedition is intended for no other design but to have a free and lawful Parliament assembled as soon as possible, and that all members shall meet and sit in full freedom.
Exactly. We drove out the corrupt James II and helped England recover from the aftermath he left. In 1688, we sent a large fleet of ships to English shores. This war fleet was twice the size of the Spanish Armada and a mighty host of 11,000 men.
And when James sent an army, they began to retreat. In 1689, we took to the throne as William III and Mary II of England.
We also dealt with outside forces trying to invade. William and Mary were faced in 1689 with two Jacobite attempts to regain the throne. In Scotland, government troops were defeated at Killiecrankie by Scottish Jacobites, but won shortly afterwards at Dunkeld, and James II landed in Ireland with French troops and laid siege to Londonderry. William's navy relieved the siege, and he led the army to victory at the Battle of Boyon in July 1690.
Your dad really was a pain. He just couldn't forget that we took his kingdom right from under his nose.
Aside from dealing with my father, we established the Bank of England. We used this to combat war debt and boost our economy. We had wonderful relations with outside nations.
Except for France, always getting in the way. That darn Louis XIV.
Well, yes, we had great relations with Spain, Ireland, Austria, and all our nations.
Except for France.
We know William.
Oh, and your dad, but we already dealt with him.
We know William.
Well, he did flee to France after we kicked him out.
I said we know William.
Okay, just making sure. Now, why should you elect us? Well, there are so many glorious reasons.
But before we can tell you what good we'll do for you, we must let you in on a little secret. It's about another candidate, Oliver Cromwell.
We heard he can be a bit dictator-like.
I was told that he helped with the English Civil War. He was fighting to save Parliament's rights, but in the end, he gave them all the boot.
You don't want a leader like that. You want someone with experience. Someone you can trust. Our policies are ones you can believe in. Someone who doesn't need a wall to keep invaders out. Someone with a strong military. And someone who doesn't start a war with almost every nation.
and people who you can turn to, like we can turn to each other.
Unlike a great man, such as myself, once said, and we will endeavor by all possible means to procure such an establishment in all three kingdoms, that they may live in a happy union and correspondence together, and that the Protestant religion and the peace, honor, and happiness of those nations may be established upon lasting foundations. So, vote for William III of England and Mary II, or we will forcefully invade and take charge. Thank you. This message has been approved by William III and Mary II of England.
This message was approved by William III and Mary II of England.